Hey everyone, welcome to Chat with Sandy and Karen. I'm Karen Jackson and my co-host is
Sandy Mansell.
Sandy and I are so happy to welcome our friend Mr. G back for a second time. He's talking about pivoting and just adjusting to what life brings us, and really happy to have you, Carlos. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I am Mr. G, and I am a Google for Education certified trainer and innovator. And an exciting development from the last time I was here is that I started working on my Master's of Educational Technology. Yes. So instead of Mr. G, I'm looking forward to earn the title of Master G.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. That's a rocking title right there. Like it. That's neat. So what are your first classes that you have to take?
My first one was, I don't remember the title. I just remember the projects. But actually, I have the title right here. It's called Instructional Technology. Oh, well, simple title.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the first one that I took. And some of them are going to be dealing with psychology and all that good stuff.
Oh, I like that. That's good. That's really important, too, to get the background. And a lot of people don't like studying the theory of things, but I think it's important to know where the origins of what's happening now, how we got here by looking at how things were invented. And then, you can kind of see if you need to change things. I enjoy that kind of stuff. Well, That's great. Congrats.
Thank you.
And I know that's a challenge when you are a parent and you've got kids and you still need to prioritize. So I'm sure you have support, and kudos to your whole family, because this is an adventure for the whole family.
Well, both me and my wife are going through it at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Partners crime.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's ed tech. I know ed tech. So it'll be, I've noticed that one of the main things that in order to get a job in education is that if you don't have the title, even if you have the knowledge, it doesn't, they won't hire you. So that's why I took that step.
Yeah. I feel, so I studied back in the 90s and I haven't gone back to university, but recently I have felt the same. Like when the teachers were coming in, they were coming with so much more qualifications than me. I felt like I needed the same. I needed to make I didn't do it for peer pressure, but I did it for me, that I wanted to be on the same level. I wanted to know what was out there. Right. What made them more recruitable than me as well. It makes a lot of difference.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing psychology in education as well. Wow. Behaviors.
Yeah. That's interesting. My problem with school is that there were so many different ways, so many different topics that I thought I just want to learn everything all the time. There's not enough time. There's not enough, there are not enough moments to be able to, I'm going to rephrase that. You have to make the time to do interesting things, I think.
On that note, it took me 8 years to finish my bachelor's degree because I wanted to. How was that?
I said, well done.
Yeah.
Yes. I wanted to learn some things that was not part of my major. So that was part of the problem. The other problem was that I was working full-time and I was a part-time soldier, specifically National Guard. So it took time for several reasons, but one of them was because I wanted to learn more things that was not part of my degree plan.
And look at how amazing an amazing influence you've been to the education world in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think that it's good. I don't know. I just think that the life experience that we bring to this career is so helpful for our students that are living it and will be living it very soon, that not everyone goes off to college for 4 years and gets a degree, goes straight through to their master's and then their doctorate, and poof, they're successful. You know, it's not that way. It never has been. But I think that was some kind of a false perception. You know, a lot of people in my classes were either commuting from somewhere else, taking classes in the evening, or and now it's online courses, and which is wonderful because it's more flexible. So I think on the one hand, that's much better now than it used to be, because we used to have to commute to go if we wanted to get a degree from a college a couple hours away. Not anymore. So our title today is Pivoting Your Project. And last time you were on, Carlos, you were talking about gamifying some of the real life skills for students. And so what's an update? How about an update on that?
Okay, so last time you told me that hopefully I would have some good news, right?
Yeah.
Well, I have to say that he won second place. So yes, good news, definitely.
Okay. All right. Well, there's no problem with second place.
Still a place.
Yes, it's always been that my students get one of the top three, whether first, second, or third. But we've always placed. It is a Texas, and Dr. Jackson, you are from Texas, and you know how big Texas is. Mm-hmm. And yes. So to say that we competed against other high schools from Texas and still win, that is an amazing honor. And yes. It's awesome that my students have been part of that journey.
Yeah, what a legacy. That's great. And so it really just shows the buy-in. So for those that haven't listened before, just a real quick elevator's pitch about what it was art, wasn't it? It was Google.
It was Google Slides, using Google Slides to create a game. And yeah. He submitted the game for a competition and won second place.
That's awesome. That is so great.
Well
Congrats.
Done.
Is Thank there a link like on social media that you shared that we could share with our listeners, or?
Sure, I'll look for it. I don't have it with me.
Okay.
Since I wasn't prepared for that one. I forgot that you had asked me next time that I showed up to talk about that. But I'll share it as soon as I have a chance.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great. And we'll just throw it in the notes. That's great. Excellent. Okay, so how about your project? How's your project going?
Okay. So one important lesson I have learned is that making mistakes is okay. A pivot in life and innovation may just be what you need. A perfect example is Dr. Jackson.
That's true. That's true. And I don't want to make this about me, but I'm just going to drop a little message here. When I retired in 2019, I knew that there was going to be something else, but I needed to appreciate, give some time and reflect on what I wanted to do next, because I never ever wanted to retire and just sit in a recliner the rest of my life. That's just not me. But I knew there was something else. I just didn't know what. So I kept up my studies. I kept going to, it was COVID, it came right along. So I did webinars and all kinds of things that helped me to understand where I was mentally and the skill set I had, and to think about, well, what did I want to do? Now I could do things by choice and because I wanted to. And things that were exciting. And so much discussion with my husband. I thought, well, I'm going to start looking for another job. And I looked around at all the universities here, and I found some programs. I applied, did not get accepted, 23 later, 23 different places. I thought, okay, I'm just going to garden. I'm going to travel a little bit here and there. And then I found out there was an opening at Sandy School in Sweden. So I thought, well, what is it? Well, it's computer science, which is what the last 6-7 years I'd been interested in and working with and learning and teaching. And also web development, which is same thing, just been working and creating websites and teaching teachers how to use websites, and all the certifications that I had seemed to fit. And so I went ahead and applied. I thought, well, it can't hurt. You got to do something, right? Well, I got the job. So starting August 2nd, I'll be teaching in Sweden. Yay! Very excited. So that's the long and the short of it. Yeah, it's a pivot. I mean, you think you know what you're going to do, but it doesn't always happen that way. And so, you just got to be prepared for whatever happens.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we're going to have to rename this podcast. Season 2 is going to be very different. So yay, that'll be good.
We'll teach you some Swedish, Carlos, next time you're on. I think that's happening.
Yeah, you'll have to come on the other side, after the change.
So, Carlos, tell us about where you said it was an experience pivoting your project. Tell us what happened. And
okay, yeah. So, similar to Dr. Jackson, I enjoy being a teacher. However, I think I can have a better impact in students' lives by becoming an educational technologist. Similarly, in my Innovator Academy, I had a great idea. I just didn't know how to bring it to completion. That doesn't mean that I gave up on that idea, but I had another issue that came up. Teachers wanted to format text in Google Forms, so I brought this idea to Andrew Caffrey, who approved it. So I pivoted in my Innovator project, and I have finished.
Woo! That's great.
Yes. So
formatting text in Google Forms.
Yes.
Which is one of the new features out in Forms, I believe, as well.
No, that's the thing. Oh. So this is, well, let me talk about what I created, which is a Chrome extension that allows you to emphasize text where text is not allowed to be formatted, but Unicode text is allowed. And this, with any new system, Unicode is usually allowed. There may be some old systems which may not work, but for the purposes of my project, it works great.
And we can find this in the Chrome extension store.
Yes. But let me start by showing you on Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let me present. There we go. Okay, so here we are, and I already started typing my message on Twitter, and I already have this installed, this Chrome extension installed. And I can put, like, I want to emphasize now because it's already happening. I go to Format, and I can select different types of formats. I'm gonna select Sans Bold. The only thing that I need to do now, and this is important so that it works with every platform, is I'm gonna hold Control V or paste. Another way that I can do this is I can, just like I do, right click and format. I'm gonna select italics this time. I can also right click and paste. Now on a Mac, I think it's Command V.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, anything else is Control V. But that's pretty much it. This is Twitter, right? So I'm going to do underline. I'm going to do. I'm going to use the EdTech, and I'm going to bubble those letters. Format, more, and I'm going to do circle, paste.
Oh, wow.
I always wondered how people did that.
Well, they did it a very long way around, but since it was so difficult to go through that process, go to one website, type in your information, go to a different place, paste the information you want, change.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there has to be a better way. And now I hit Twit, and there it is.
Very cool. I like that.
What was it called again?
The name of my extension?
Yes.
Okay. The extension is called GRTF.
What does that stand for?
G, you can see it in different ways. I am Mr. G, or Google. The G is not for Google, but it fits. And then space, RTF stands for Rich Text Format.
Okay.
Okay. So
Copy link to tweet.
Now, I didn't do it for Twitter. The original reason as to why I did it is for educators, right? So that they can explain better on Google Forms. So let me show you how this same process works in Google Forms.
Okay. So those are listeners who are looking for this. It's Carlos is just showing us how the Chrome extension GRTF works in Forms and earlier in Twitter.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. So something simple. Here's some sample text. And sometimes it is difficult to type a lot of info. So you have to separate it or emphasize. Right click, spell check. Size. Now, when you have a lot of information typed, you get lost in all the text and you don't understand what you read. So for educators to help students read, and this is one of my, I'm sure you've seen me talk about reading before, that sometimes it's difficult for me to read, and I need to focus on specific keywords to understand the text. So I want to emphasize the word example, same thing. But this time, I'm going to emphasize it using something called wide. Wide text makes it easier for those that have problems with reading. And one of the reasons to why I really love the Lexend font is because it gives various, and I forget the term here. It starts, I think it starts with a K, but the different width, kerning, thank you. So it gives different kerning for depending on your level of reading. Not that you're a better reader, it's just how difficult it is for you to read. So that's one of, because Google Forms does not have a way to choose fonts yet. This is one good way of using it. Eventually, actually, I'm not sure, that's one of the updates that are coming up, that more fonts will be available. So not yet in my case. So, but you still want to emphasize specific keywords, not the whole thing. So I'm gonna emphasize sometimes, and it's just the same thing. I'm gonna give it some fancy text right there. So there's the word sometimes. Okay, and this is how it works, so that key points are emphasized and it's easier to read for those students who have, like me, problems reading.
Awesome.
That's very good.
I'm looking. Yes. I'm trying to find the link in the Chrome web store to put in our chat.
Found it.
You got it? Okay.
Got it. You're going to have so many people wanting this, Carlos.
Yes.
There
you go.
And I started with the prompt of how might we help educators emphasize key points in Google Forms so students can better understand the instructions.
Right.
And after discussing it with you, Dr. Jackson, the idea of using a Chrome extension that converts simple text, like you saw on the form, to rich text came to fruition. And now educators can create better instructions. Now, speaking of the updates, originally, I thought about using it for Google Classroom. But Google Classroom already has that update where you can change the formatting. But that update did not come to Google Forms, at least not yet. And therefore, it is still a problem for Google Forms. And even if it comes to Google Forms in an eventual future, you can still use it to emphasize things on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok.
Could you preview the form that you just changed for us?
Yes, of course.
With it.
So here's the form.
There we go. Yeah. That's really good because of, we provide modifications for people with dyslexia and things like that. And it just makes it easier to see. So now, is that something where you can adjust the size of the font too?
That is limited to Google Forms.
Okay.
But a simple fix would be, again, I'm not sure what the keyboard shortcut on a Mac is, but using Control equal or Control plus zooms in.
Yeah. That's
and good. Control 0 back to normal.
Yeah, that's good for readers to know that.
I was going to say it's the same. Instead of using Control on a Mac, it's Command.
Command plus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. That's good to know.
Awesome. Thank you.
So what's the process? How did you go about getting a Chrome extension made?
Okay. So as you may know, I have a BS degree in computer science. I haven't used my Bachelor's of Science degree in the longest time because I started teaching other things other than computer science. So I had to go back and reteach myself how to code. That wasn't so much the difficult part, but the exact code that I was allowed to use to create a Chrome extension. And Google does provide you with an example to start playing with to create your own example. So I started looking at that example and trying to figure out, okay, what changes can I make to this example so that I can add the code that I want? I tried different code that did not work at all. So needless to say that I failed over and over and over. And the frustration that came through that, it was just, I want to stop and quit. I asked for help, and actually, no, I didn't ask for help until I came to a specific point in my project. But I did a lot of research, which is similar to asking for help, because a lot of other people have asked for help already. And places like Stack Overflow, where there's a lot of examples. So I look at their examples and think, how can I apply their code to what I need? So there was modifications that I had to do based on their code, and so that it would fit this. And then there was some repetitive code that I couldn't, how can I explain? I couldn't figure out how to code that was so repetitive because of how specific this character needs to change in this specific way. This other character needs to change in this other specific way.
Yeah.
That was very repetitive, and I couldn't figure out how to code that in a loop, for example, that it would automatically process all that code. So what I did is I used Google Forms to create the code for me. Excuse me, not Google Forms, Google Sheets. Excuse me. I use Google Sheets. I use Google Sheets to change or create the code for me. So I said, combine this code with this character, and the output should be this. And then at the end, it created the code on the side. So I just copied all that whole column and pasted it in the code. And
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's also the beauty of Sheets, is that it does repetitive mathematical calculations to infinity. You know, that's why I love a spreadsheet, because it does those repetitions. That's awesome.
So I couldn't figure it out using the code in to create the Chrome extension, but I used Google Sheets to create the repetition and I just copy paste.
Cool.
That's amazing. It's going to be very popular in the teaching world. And I think even when, not just in the education, I think in the private sector as well, when companies want to emphasize on certain words or being able to make sure all their readers can read, and knowing that there is this extension out there, it's going to be so good for them to use.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we monetize it, and you can give us the percentage.
I am monetizing it, but not the way you would expect. I'm just saying, buy me a coffee. That's it.
Yes, come to Sweden. Cool. We'll buy you a coffee and
Absolutely.
That's going to be an expensive coffee.
Truth. That's great.
It is still a work in progress. However, the goal is for teachers to be able to properly explain.
Yeah. Have you gotten any feedback yet?
Okay, well, let's go to the Chrome Web Store.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay. So it's G space RTF. Wonder if my name works. Carlos Garza. Nope. Okay. So I'll just go with GRTF. G space RTF.
Okay.
There it is.
And yeah, GRTF, plain to rich text. So if you want to get involved with this and help me out, one is start using it, which is 80 users so far.
Which is fantastic. When did you launch this app?
What was it? 2 months ago? Just about 2 months ago.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so here are the reviews. I'm going to skip mine because that one doesn't count. But works great on all platforms. I tried it on. Okay. This is awesome. Great tool. And there's others. If you're not using Gmail to comment on these, chances are that your comment is not going to show. But another way to get involved is not just use it, but give me a rating. And like they tell you at car dealerships or any other place where they are looking for ratings, is anything less than a 5 is a failure. But if you do have a problem with it, or you see a way that you can help me with this, there's always this contact developer section, and here is my address as well. So feel free to contact me. Let me know. Again, this is something that I just tried, and it was the only way that it would work, is the way I made it. Others have tried to recreate what I did without using the Control-V to paste, and it only works in one place, and that's it. It doesn't work everywhere. So to make it work everywhere, I had to do it this way. If somebody can figure out how to make it work everywhere, then that would be awesome. But yeah, mainly use it, give me a 5-star rating, and that would help a lot.
Yeah, and the people, the more people that use it, the more instances they'll have, suggestions and improvements, and just it makes it gives it legs. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. Very cool. I've always wondered how to, I always thought that was kind of a drawback on forums, is that you couldn't change the font like that, text.
But now you can.
Yay. Yes. Is there anything else, Carlos, that you'd like to chat about? Or how's your summer going? You working?
Working, yes. So one awesome thing that my district at La Jolla ISD is doing is that we saw this need that teachers didn't know how to use technology. So they implemented something interesting called it's Educational Technology Help Support. So they call us the Google Tech Leaders. And we help with educational technology integration. It's mainly because we use Google Meet and Google Classroom for our classes. That's why it's the Google Tech Leaders. But it's anything that can be integrated in education to teach a class. And I thought that was something awesome that our district did, and I am part of that group. One of the things that I created to simplify this is a support ticket system. And the way I created this was using Google Sheets and Google Forms.
Excellent.
So, and it's just so easy to log in information, similar how you would use a regular ticket system, but it's using Google Forms as a way to type information and Google Sheets as the database.
That's good. And then do you use Autocrat or something like that to send them a receipt that they've set in a ticket? Or
Google Form automatically does that.
Nice.
So if you set it to, let me look at Google Forms here. Here's Forms, and the settings, there's collect email and response receipts, always.
There we go. Yep.
And that does it.
That way they know they have contacted you.
Yes.
And what they asked for. Excellent.
Yeah, that's very very nice to know. I think where a lot of schools are finishing now or have finished, but if any educators are listening, they're ready, saying, oh, there's something else out there. They can start planning the Google Forms and having that ready. So thank you so much, Carlos, for sharing that with us and for creating this. It's so helpful. I know I will certainly use it. Karen, we've got to use it in our planning.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, once again, Carlos, thank you for being on our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's really useful, very educational. We certainly like listening to you and your creativeness. And now, next time you come on our show, we could probably be all in Sweden, or we could be talking about psychology, behaviors. Why do, I don't know, students think like this and what's going on? It's a very fun topic. Maybe we can pick Karen's brains.
Sure, I'll make something up.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you to all our listeners, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter at ChatWSK1. You can find us and subscribe to our channel on Spotify, Google, and Apple, and hear more about what is going on in education currently on both sides of the pond.
Yes. Oh, nice. Bye-bye, Carlos. Thank you. Bye, Sandy.
Goodbye.
Bye.